Red Sox roster moves are on their way. Here's what we know right now. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Red Seat Radio. My name is Corbin, and thank you very much for clicking on this video. Ladies and gentlemen, we are over halfway towards our Movember donation goal. Absolutely incredible work by this community so far, but we're not there yet. This month, we are raising money for Movember to help both men's mental and physical health services for men all around the globe. If you want to help donate, the link will be in the description, and one person that donates is going to win opening day tickets if we can reach our $3,000 donation goal. So make sure you guys are helping us get there. But anyways, this is going to be a little bit of a busy couple of days for the Boston Red Sox. There's some deadlines coming up that means the Red Sox need to make some pretty interesting decisions very, very quickly here. The first one is actually today. Today by 6 p.m. Eastern time, every team in Major League Baseball needs to decide who they are going to save from Rule 5 draft contention. For the Red Sox, that list is incredibly long, and we do know there is going to be one surefire move coming this afternoon. The second thing that needs to happen over the next couple of days here is on Friday, there is a deadline in Major League Baseball for teams to non-tender their arbitration eligible players. Basically, what I'm saying here is that these arbitration players, the Red Sox need to decide whether or not they're going to give them a contract or let them go to free agency. And again, there was an interesting expected decision announced just this last couple of days. So we're going to go over both of these, and we are going to start with the one that's coming up the soonest. And obviously, that is who the Red Sox are going to save from this Rule 5 draft. Because right now, there is only one truly confirmed name that the Red Sox are going to make sure they hold on to. And that is most likely going to be David Sandlin, which to me makes all the sense in the world. The Red Sox have been really high on Sandlin ever since he was traded over here in the John Schreiber trade back in 2023. And that is mostly because they firmly believe in his stuff. He has a really nice fastball that is by far and away the bread and butter of, hey, this guy could be something impressive. It tops out around 100 miles an hour pretty regularly, and last year they've been developing a bit of an off-speed arsenal here as well, between a slider that has really developed into his solid secondary pitch form, a sweeper that is pretty decent. It's not going to be anything super crazy, but it's a decent offering, and a splitter that he's been using mostly against lefties, but this year he started to work into right-handed counts as well. These sort of off-speed adjustments really helped his fastball play in minor league baseball. Before this, it was sort of, okay, he's got this fastball, but everyone knows he only has a fastball, and that got hit pretty hard. He had a tough time adjusting to the Red Sox pitching program for him, but this year, he really started to figure it out, especially in Double-A, where he had by far and away his best season in a Red Sox uniform. I guess not a Red Sox uniform, a Sea Dogs uniform, but you guys understand what I'm saying here. It was a 3.61 ERA in 17 games, 13 of them being starts. His whip was down right around that 1 number, which is really nice considering the rest of his time here in the Red Sox system. It was a bit higher than that. When he was promoted to AAA, though, he was moved into strictly a bullpen role, and he's had a pretty tough time adjusting to it, dropping a 7.61 ERA, 23 2/3 innings up there. Still, the Red Sox and the industry firmly believe that this season, David Sandlin could end up becoming a legitimate middle of the bullpen type arm for the Red Sox down the stretch here. They're going to give him some time, obviously, in AAA, let him continue to develop and figure out a routine in that bullpen. Once he does that, he is 100% going to be a guy we see in a Red Sox uniform this year. Now, the interesting part of this conversation with David Sandlin isn't so much him being added to the roster, it's who the Red Sox are going to be removing to add him to the roster, because anyone they add in the next few hours here, someone has to be DFA'd in order to make that happen. In my opinion, there are a few names that you need to be paying attention to over the course of this day. It's Josh Witkowski, it's Vaughn Grissom, and it's Giovanni Moran. The other person I wanted to mention was Nathaniel Lowe, but we're going to talk about him in a second. Honestly, like I said in the intro, there are a ton of names Rule 5 eligible for the Boston Red Sox this offseason, and you may be sitting there saying to yourself, especially looking at this list of names, well, wait a second, there are guys on here who I think the Red Sox like, and I think the Red Sox want to hold on to. Why wouldn't they protect more of them, right? Because right now there's only really one truly, hey, we know that this guy is going to be protected. The reasoning behind that is pretty simple. The Rule 5 draft, while is a risk for every major league team to lose some of these high caliber prospects, is also a risk for a team to take on. In order for you to hold on to one of these Rule 5 names, a guy like Garrett Whitlock, a guy like Justin Slayton, you need to hold on to them on your 26-man roster for the entire first year in your organization. That's pretty difficult to do for a lot of major league teams, right? To take a chance on a guy who, let's say, has only made it up to Double-A, or let's say is performing, who has a ton of talent, but is performing pretty poorly at the Triple-A level. There are names on here that fit that category specifically. I'm talking guys like Miguel Blaze, Alan Castro, Luis Guerrero, Shane Drohan, right? So these guys may be safe because of that, because of the risk that comes with drafting a Rule 5 player. It's become a lot harder to draft one of these guys and just sort of hide them on the IL like it was in years past. So a lot of these guys may just be safe because of the risk involved. The other thing here is that the Red Sox may not want to try to save 4 or 5 of these guys because every single one of them, like I said, is going to require a DFA. That's a lot of risk to put on your roster, especially your 40-man roster here, just simply to make sure that they aren't drafted by another team, right? You're losing legitimate major league talent every single time that you DFA somebody. Yes, there are names that probably could be improved upon coming into the 2025 season, but by doing so and replacing them with a name that's never pitched or never thrown a ball or never hit a ball at the major league level, obviously that is a bit of a risk. So instead of 4 or 5 guys that are going to be added in the next 6-7 hours here, depending on when you guys watch this video, you're going to probably see 1, maybe 2. The only other name that I think is legitimately, hey, this could be a guy that ends up being saved here is Tyler Uberstein, who had a real breakout season at the AAA level this year. However, the Red Sox have a ton of starting depth right now, right? With just simply guys either in their system off the 40-man roster or in their system on the 40-man roster, they may not feel as though the risk is worth the reward there. The only true fire name that's going to be added right now is David Sandlin. Obviously, if anything changes, we'll make a video here probably tomorrow going over any sort of surprises that come our way, because that is always a possibility. The other expected roster decision that's coming our way over these next few days is obviously the non-tender deadline. And here is where I think the Red Sox made an incredibly fascinating decision, because according to Chris Cotillo, the Red Sox are expected to hold on to Tanner Houck despite the conversations that they were going to non-tender him come this deadline. I think actually a lot of people, including myself, thought for a real second here that Tanner Houck was going to be non-tendered. Now, this isn't because I don't believe in the talent that Tanner Houck still has, right? But it was mostly because of the timeline involved in all of this. In August of this season, Tanner Houck got a full Tommy John surgery. Normally, it's about a year and a half until a guy who got Tommy John is back on the mound pitching full-time for their major league team. If he had it in August, that essentially totally rules out basically the entirety of his 2026 season, right? Tanner Houck most likely won't get back on the mound for the Red Sox until 2027. And even then, there's some question marks as to, 1, whether or not we'll play baseball in 27, or 2, when in 2027 Tanner Houck will actually come back and pitch for this baseball team. The reason this became so fascinating is because of the fact that Tanner Houck is a free agent after the 2027 season. So what the Red Sox are essentially saying here is, yes, we are going to pay for him to rehab here in the Red Sox system. It'll probably be around 3.5 upwards of $3.9 million this year. And then next year, we're going to hope and pray that we get anything out of him. And then he's going to hit the free agent market and potentially leave this winter, right? You look at that timeline, you say, yeah, it makes sense why fans, us, me, you, would sit there and say, well, wait a second, wouldn't it make sense to just simply cut ties now, save yourself a pretty decent chunk of money, right? I mean, obviously, it's not going to be the difference between Pete Alonso and Eugenio Suarez in terms of who the Red Sox target, but it may help them acquire one of those guys. But the Red Sox don't feel as though that is the case. Now, there could be a couple of reasons as to why the Red Sox decided this. The first one, and something that Chris Cotillo brought up in his article, is that there is a potential that the Red Sox are trying to figure out a way to hold on to Tanner Houck past this 2027 season, right? Where they're sitting there trying to get a little bit funky and creative with an extension that would work for the Red Sox and then also work for Tanner Houck. Now, this could end up being pretty tricky to do, especially because he's injured right now, and that's a lot of risk to take on. The second reason could be because the Red Sox firmly believe in the talent, that they're sitting here saying, look, it's just worth the risk, because at the highest, Tanner Houck is a frontline starting pitcher. Now, I don't know that he'll ever get to being a true number one or number two again in Major League Baseball, but you got to admit that talent is still there. I understand this season he had a above 8 ERA in his starts, but he was also pitching through this injury that ultimately led to the Tommy John surgery, right? So the talent is still there. If he's fully healthy, we could potentially see him get back to what he was in 24 than what he was in 25, and that's a really, really impressive pitcher and could be someone who helps his pitching staff. Or three, and in my opinion, maybe the most likely option here is that the Red Sox are simply just kicking the can down the road here, right? They're sitting here in 2026 and saying, look, let's just hold on to this guy. You know, you never know, right? You never know how your prospects are going to develop. You never know who the guy you're going to sign or trade for this offseason ends up performing in the Red Sox system. You never really know what's going to happen. At worst case scenario, you've got yourself a relatively solid reliever, right? Houck was always really decent out of the bullpen. Best case scenario here, you've got yourself a guy who can fight for the middle of this rotation. All of a sudden, coming into 27, you've got Crochet, name a starter that the Red Sox picked up this offseason, Houck, Bayo, and all of a sudden your rotation's looking really, really good. So, in my opinion, this is sort of just kicking the can down the road. However, there is one candidate right now on the Red Sox list of arbitration-eligible players that feels like a surefire, yeah, they're going to non-tender this guy, and that's Nathaniel Lowe, right? And we brought him up earlier in this video. With the Red Sox openly looking for a free agent corner outfield, especially recently being tied to Pete Alonso, with Casas coming back this season at some point and whatever he's going to end up doing for the Red Sox, and with what Romy Gonzalez did offensively for the Red Sox this season, it really doesn't make a ton of sense to hang on to Nathaniel Lowe, especially at the price tag he's going to be worth coming into this season, which is going to be above $10 million, right? The Red Sox, it just doesn't make sense to give $13-ish million to a guy like Nathaniel Lowe when he's probably not going to get a ton of playing time here. The smart thing for the Red Sox to do would actually be to make this move today. We talked about Winkowski, we talked about Giovanni Moran, we talked about Vaughn Grissom, but the smoothest transition here to save David Sandlin and make room on your roster would be to non-tender this guy who you're probably going to non-tender anyways. I wouldn't be shocked if we see that today at all. Honestly, I wouldn't be shocked if by the time you're watching this video, it's already done. But either way, it feels like he is going to be non-tendered an offer come the end of this week at the bare minimum. I also think some names to look out for. Josh Winkowski, again, feels like a name that you could end up being non-tendered with the way the Red Sox bullpen has been built up recently. I think, Vaughn Grissom, again, I sit here with Vaughn and I still think there's a ton of potential there, but there's clearly not a major league fit on the roster with him. My thing is, though, you could probably trade him and get something in there, right? Maybe as a sort of final piece to push a trade over the limit here. So I would hold on to him as well. Basically, what I'm trying to tell you guys is there is going to be a ton of movement for the Red Sox over these next 72 hours, whether it's today, whether it's Friday, whatever it may be. And it's something to absolutely pay attention to because it could give you some indication as to where the Red Sox are looking to improve in 2026. If there is anything outside of these moves that we talked about in this video, obviously I'm going to cover them on Red Seat Radio, so keep an eye out for that. But before anything else happens, let me know in the comment section down below, what do you think about this? What do you think about the Red Sox saving David Sandlin? What do you think about the Red Sox giving a contract to Tanner Houck? What do you think of the latest roster decisions? So let me know all your thoughts. As always, if you made it to the end of this video, do me a favor, make sure you guys have hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. If you're new here, we talk Red Sox content almost every single day. Also, make sure you guys have hit the like button on this video as well. It just simply helps out a ton, and it's the best way to let me know you're enjoying the content. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one, and I will see you in the Red Seats.